of the Guam Crime Stoppers report. During the month of April, we have been highlighting some of the heroes in our community that provide services to victims and survivors of family violence and sexual assault, as well as child abuse. With us this week, along with Guam Crime Stoppers Coordinator Officer Paul Tapao, are Paula Perez and Maria Quintanilla from the Ali Family Violence Shelter. Now, the shelter is just one of the many services provided by Catholic Social Services. It is a 24/7 shelter for women who are victims or survivors of family violence and or sexual assault. Their doors are opened or has opened more than 30 years ago. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Well, first let's start with the two of you. How long have you guys been with the shelter?
Okay, I've been there over a year as a shelter coordinator for the women's shelter.
I was just detailed last November, so I've been there about 6 months.
What did you do previously?
I worked in a school, I worked in a tour agency, and
Okay. Well, you know, I spoke with Diane Calvo last week, and we talked about the Ali Children's Shelter, and a majority of the time, all the time, they are full to capacity. What about the Family Violence Shelter?
Maria?
we have been full, where we actually had to turn one family away with the assistance of Barrow. So we have 9 available rooms, but depending on the family size, we can accommodate them. So we try as best as possible to fit them into one room, depending on how old they are. There's cribs, there's toddler beds, and they also have different size beds, like from king size to twin.
So I guess take me through the process on how victims and survivors get to the Ali Children's Shelter.
The children's shelter.
I mean, I'm sorry, the Family Violence Shelter.
We do self-referrals. We have the Ali hotline. It's 648-4673. Or they also have referrals through GPD's Victim Assistance Unit and other services that are out there in the community. They can call like the public defender, or we get referrals from Barrow, Oasis. We just try to help each other in the community if they need assistance.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the GPD Victims Advocates, because I did speak with Gwen and Adriana a couple of weeks back, and they were talking about how family violence, sexual assault, it is such a huge problem on Guam, and more people, they're finally coming out, they're reporting it, and that's why we're seeing this growing number of reports. And you're seeing this awareness and outreach. But what more do you think, in your opinion, needs to be done to curb those numbers and to stop the violence?
A lot of prevention, a lot of education. The community really needs to work together. So we really need to go out into the schools, hit them at a younger age, tell them signs, symptoms, what to look for before they get into relationships, you know, some of the signs to look out for, because the abuse will just escalate. So the sooner we get them out of a relationship, the safer it is for them.
Okay. Well, for our viewers at home who aren't familiar with the Ali Shelter, I know I made the mistake of calling it the Children's Shelter, but that's because there's 2 different types of shelters. So I guess if you could tell our viewers about the Family Violence Shelter.
Okay. Our Ali Women's Shelter, Catherine's Home, originally opened in 1981. To address a growing need in the community to assist female victims of family violence and or sexual assault. We see fluctuations in numbers, you know, depending on the months, things like that. Around the holidays, we see a higher number of women that come in. So they can come in and stay with us any amount of time, a few hours to up to 45 days. We also have a transitional housing program. So we have the women who complete their 45-day stay in the women's shelter. We can transition them to an apartment unit where we subsidize the rental and utilities, and we assist them into more permanent living.
What about victims where a family is involved, where it's not just a woman, but you're talking about their child? Do you separate them, like the mother goes to the family violence shelter?
We have had some that are, the children have been the victim of sexual assault. But because the perpetrator wasn't arrested yet, we would house the family, the mother and the children.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know, you guys see this every day. It's part of your job, and you're on the front lines. It just seems like it would be difficult to do what you do. So I'm just wanting to know how and why do you do it?
in all honesty, you have to have the heart. You have to care to be in a position like this. You have to know that there is an issue out there that's going on and it is getting bad, you know, but you have to want to know more, want to learn more, and want to know that there is a way to help these people.
I think the most important thing, you know, with our staff is we see it often, like you said, and in order for us to continue to assist, we have to talk about it with each other. You know, we have to talk about what we go through, the stories that we hear, in order for it not to affect us as greatly as it does, you know, so that we can continue to come back and be as objective as possible and offer the services to them.
Any final comments or message to anyone at home who may be watching and need help?
Our hotline number is 648-HOPE. It's a 24-hour hotline. It's always answered. So just call, even if you just need to talk. We make referrals.
Someone will be there to answer the phone.
Paul, any final comments on the partnership that GPD has with the Ali Women's Shelter?
We can't do it without them. The partners that we featured throughout the show for the past month, we want to thank you again for KUAM for bringing the importance of sexual assault into the homes, into our community, and just giving a little knowledge of what's out there. The services are out there. Like I said, GPD, we cannot do this alone. We need everybody's help, our service providers and the community to come forward. Like Ms. Ferris had mentioned, prevention starts with education, and this is one of the steps that we're taking towards preventing and, you know, hopefully putting a stop to domestic violence and sexual assault.
Again,
So thank you again.
No problem. Again, we can't do this alone. If you know of something that's going on in the community, please report it. You can report it to Guam Crime Stoppers at 477-HELP. That's 477-4357. Text 688-STOP. And of course, thank you again to Ali Shelter. Their 24-hour crisis hotline, once again, is